Now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is calling for investigations into alleged vote buying, financial inducement, violence, and other electoral offences linked to the 2026 Osun State governorship election. SERAP made the call on Sunday, shortly after the Independent National Electoral Commission declared Governor Ademola Adeleke of the Accord Party winner of Saturday's governorship election, returning him for another term in office. The civil society organization urged the INEC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commissions to investigate allegations of vote buying, financial inducement, violence, and other irregularities reported during the poll. SERAP said credible investigations are necessary to establish the facts surrounding the allegations and ensure that anyone found culpable is held accountable. The organization also called on the relevant authorities to facilitate independent regional and international assessment of the election. Now, as reactions continue to trail the outcome of the Osun State governorship election, attention is also turning to the conduct of the poll. Now, we have Mr. Jake Epelle, CEO, Founder of TAF Africa, an election observer, of course, who monitored the poll, joining us to assess these allegations and give an independent perspective on the conduct, the transparency and credibility of the election. Mr. Jake Epelle, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, yesterday you were present in Osun State. Now, based on what you witnessed, how credible and transparent was the Osun governorship election?
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I think I want to begin by saying that Osun people have spoken. Democracy have spoken. You cannot silence the voice of true democracy. And in the morning and this afternoon, it keeps resonating that indeed this is true democracy at work. So we're no longer making projections. It's now an official verdict that the electorate has chosen, of Osun State have chosen their leader. INEC has declared the governor, Governor Ademola Adeleke of Accord Party re-elected with 511,067 votes, defeating Ambo, as they call him, who polled 444,815 votes. Of course, there are other candidates that is trailing behind. Now, it's important to underpin and underscore the significance of our 2026 election. It goes beyond this election and points to and signposts to 2027. First, it demonstrates that a strong personal political mandate can sometimes travel across party platforms. Adeleke won in 2022 under PDP. He moved to Accord and has now secured a re-election. That tells us that Nigerian politics may still be party-driven, but voters can make a distinction between the party logo and the candidate they believe represents their interest. It's also important to underpin the second thing. Osun has reminded us that federal political power is influential, but is not omnipotent. It is influential, but it's not omnipotent. So APC mobilized substantially and still obtained more than 444,000 votes from 11 local governments. Was not an APC collapse. It wasn't an APC collapse. They showed some good, powerful fronts, but it also shows that when a candidate is popular, a candidate is popular. Adeleke has shown that he is a political bigwig, and that's exactly what played out in this election. I believe that it was free, fair, credible, a bit inclusive, but could be better. But it's telling you what is likely to play out in 2027. The third thing that I can pinpoint from this is that electoral outcome may not necessarily be confused with a flawless electoral process. There is some issues that INEC, the electoral umpire, and the political bigwigs needs to take into cognizance. I had the privilege of speaking with INEC chairman this morning, and indeed I congratulated him on one front, and that's the fact that he was able to manage an impending crisis, a crisis that would have thrown both INEC and everybody off our feet, and that's the introduction of this SDP candidate, the last-minute introduction of a SDP candidate. Now, this is what that means. What it means is that all the ballot papers that INEC printed prior to that court pronouncement was discarded. They had to go into printing a new ballot papers, and all that. And how they were able to manage that crisis, kudos to INEC leadership, because I don't know, I was very skeptical what that means. So the challenges of Beaver, you see also, is another aspect that they were able to manage effectively, and the turnaround solution is also worthy of note. Finally, I think Osun should be treated as a laboratory for 2027, not a certificate of readiness for 2027. Nigerians must take what worked here, identify what failed, prosecute electoral offences,
right,
strengthen beavers and logistic issues. But kudos to everybody. I want to commend New Central.
Well, Mr. Jake, before you commend us, we're still here for a bit. Before you commend us, I know that you've really told us everything based on what you observed yesterday, but let's go on a very short break. When we come back, you can commend us, and then I have more questions for you. Stay with us.
All right, no problem.
Welcome back. Now we're talking about the Osun election, of course, with Mr. Jake Epelle, who has been in Osun State to observe the election. Mr. Jake Epelle, thank you so much for still, being here with us. Now, based on everything that has happened yesterday, right after the pronouncement of Governor Ademola Adeleke being, the governor, having him won yesterday's election, SERAP has called for investigations into alleged vote buying and financial inducement. Now, did you observe or receive any credible reports of such incidents during the election?
There was an obvious vote. Not just vote buying, but vote trading, because every time you talk about vote buying, it's only the buyer that is pictured. But it goes beyond that. There is a vote seller and a vote buyer. That's what makes the illicit trade vote trading. The unfortunate thing is that they are not trading on a stock exchange. They are trading on a political platform to the very regret of true democracy and what it plays out. So there was a noticeable incident of vote trading. And it could be on both sides, it could be on the three gladiators, but it became a case of the highest bidder. However, I did also see a couple of Osun people rejecting vote buying, sending them away from the polling unit where they were. There were videos making rounds. Hopefully that is fact-checked and is true. But I believe that the people resisted some element of vote buying or vote trading. And this is not good for our democracy. The earlier citizens will mobilize and reject these crooked politicians who wants to grab power at all costs, the better for democracy. And we will continue to speak truth to power. I was commending your station, and because it's an obvious commendation, because I don't know where you get the money to deploy the huge resources of reporters that you do deploy, and I think you've also brought some finesse to political broadcasting by making sure that your reporters are across the state, reporting from all angles and across all points, and that's very commendable. You know that you're doing this, and you don't have one political heavyweights and behind your station is very commendable to my good friend Akintemi and what he does with professionals like you. But keep up the good work. We're just starting. I think what has happened in Osun State is not a competitive election with just a clear outcome, but a picture of an imperfect process that can be perfected if we're all willing. And I'd like to recall what Obama said. He said, democracy will win if we all fight for it. And that's why people like me and several others, we're not going to close our mouth. We will speak. Sometimes they say, well, say all that you can say. It doesn't matter. They will do all that they want to do. Okay, so when a good man keep quiet, evil will thrive. Let it be recorded on the annals of history of this nation that people like me and several others, that we raised our voice when we had to raise our voice, and we raised our voice with evidence conversation, evidence-driven conversation. And thank God for the neutrality of stations like yours and several others that is willing to stand for what is true and let your audience know the true situation. I think also it's important to underpin and underscore the fact that I think the president also deserves some level of praise to a great extent, because I believe that he behaved like the father of the nation. I mean, he could just make one phone call that would change this entire result, you know, and not bother what happens. But he decided to respect the will of the people. It's just that Bola Ahmed Tinubu knew that this is what the people wanted, and he stayed clear. This demonstrates fatherhood, and he has demonstrated that he can be a true Democrat. I hope he will continue to do this as we march towards 2027. It's actually for his own interest. If he continues to show himself a true Democrat, then he will likely to swing the heart of the people, so to speak. But
well, Mr. Jake,
he has a lot to do.
Permit me to butt in there real quick. We're running out of time. But what would you say should be the lesson we should take from this election just as happened into 2027? Very quickly, please, sir.
I think the first lesson is the lesson that the institution called INEC can learn from this. If I'm the chairman, and I did in my conversation this morning with him, I will take advantage of this platform. The fact that he showed himself neutral, the fact that he allowed the process to play out, respecting the will of the people, he should take advantage of this and begin to preach the gospel of confidence building. Let people know that, hey, I told you that I will stay clear and allow the will of the people to play out. That's exactly what if I can do this. There's a bit of it he has done in Anambra State. There's a bit of it that he has done in Ekiti. There's more of it that he has done in Osun. Prof, if I'm you, I will ride on this and co-opt the support of media houses like News Central and several other news outlets to help me rebuild the broken trust of the people, so that they can come back to the poll, just like the Osun people came back to the poll And you know, we're no longer preaching too much of voter apathy and voter suppression.
Well, hopefully, like you mentioned, they hear and take your advice and make sure that, you know, come 2027 general election, it is as transparent as possible. Thank you so much, Mr. Jake Epelle, for joining us and having this conversation about the Osun State election. Thank you.